All right, we are ready to begin with Coach Muschamp. Coach, we'll let you make an opening statement, and then we'll open up for questions.
All ready? Can you hear me? Do you want to hear me? I saw your face, Josh. I appreciate that scowl on your face. Good to see your smiling face, John. You just
It
said that I
wasn't a
was.
scowl. That was just,
No, Fink said I was scowling at Whittle the other night, so I apologize for that. But got Ole Miss Saturday night, SEC Network, 7:30 kick. Thing that jumps out at you once you watch the tape is just overall team speed. They've got a lot of guys that run extremely well. Obviously, offensively, I think they're leading our league right now in most about every category. But the skill position players are really good. Matt Corral's playing really good football, completing over 70% of his passes, and a lot of vertical passing game. Plumlee does a nice job when they bring him in and the different things that how they use him. Jerrion Ely and Connor, the two backs, are really good players. Very difficult guys in space to take down. Elijah Moore, we played against 2 years ago over there, knew as a true freshman he was going to be a fantastic player, but he's a very good slot receiver, a punt returner, speed sweep guy. They utilize him in a lot of different ways. Mingo and Drummond, both other guys outside that are good players. And Yibo, the transfer tight end, has been a huge addition to their team. So they're very good in the skill positions. They play with a great tempo. And Lane does a great job of, whether he or Levy or Colin plays, both guys do a nice job of attacking you with tempo, but also schematically in matchups, and they do a really good job. So we got our work cut out for us. Aggressive on special teams, they continue to improve on defense. So work cut out for us on Saturday night. And I'll open up for any questions. And I'll say that both quarterbacks, Colin and Ryan, both got equal reps. We have a package for Luke, but with Colin and Ryan being so similar skill set wise. Both guys did a good job today. We do not have a timetable on when we will make that decision. It could be up to pregame warm-up to see who's spinning it best in pregame. So we'll go from there.
All right, we're going to mix it up a little bit and let Rick Henry take the first one today.
All right, thank you, Steve. Hey, Will, Nick Muse told us that he would take a bullet for you. First of all, have you ever had a player say that about you before? And what does it mean to you that your players have your back to that degree and are just very supportive?
Well, I don't think they'd say I was an asshole. We got a game on Saturday, right? But no, we have a great group of young men in that locker room that, I appreciate their support, and I support them, and we ride together, and we need to win a football game. That'll make everybody happy.
Ben Brenner?
In terms of the quarterbacks, how have you seen them kind of respond and react to having that job opened up again? You mentioned kind of how they practice, but how have they sort of responded off field and I guess also on field with their energy and such?
Ben, I wouldn't say it any differently because both guys have been, we try to create a competitive atmosphere all the time, and I know Mike does a great job of pushing that position. And having those guys be game ready in all situations. Luke is always really, I wouldn't, maybe for the last month and a half, maybe 6 weeks, has been getting the lion's share of reps at quarterback in his package and the things that we do, trying to bring that along, and we'll continue to do so. And Ryan and Colin have been getting the reps in what we're, I guess you would say our mainstay offense and what we do. So, but it's been a very competitive room on and off the field, in my opinion, and both guys I think are great for each other. Both guys interact very well together. Both guys share information very well together. Both guys want South Carolina to be successful and win, and they both want to be the starting quarterback. Only one guy can play, but both guys are talented, and we can win with both.
David?
Well, you guys played Ole Miss 2 years ago, and back then they had a real, high-flying offense, but they had a different coach with Matt Luke and now Lane. Have you ever seen that kind of similarity last over a coaching change in terms of how explosive the offense is?
Well, again, Phil Longo was the offensive coordinator, and he did a great job and is doing a really good job at North Carolina. So, I do think that, but with the tempo they play with, there's a little bit more in the run game that Lane presents each week as far as what they do. But there's a lot of, concepts that carry over, especially with the tempo that they play with. and very similar skill set, from a receiver standpoint and a running back. We went over there, and the tight end that we played that day still playing in Buffalo. I don't know where the quarterback is, but he was talented. Matt Corral played that day as a true freshman, and got tremendous respect for him. He's got arm talent. He can make all the throws. He's got athleticism. He can hurt you with his legs. The running back 22 was a really good football player for him. Elijah Moore was a freshman. A.J. Brown was a senior outside receiver that was a very difficult matchup. So it was again another really talented skill position team.
Eric Boynton.
Eric?
When you hear boos at your home stadium, and obviously, there's a lot of criticism out there right now. Does it help kind of create kind of an us against the world mentality around the program, both in the locker room, at practice, that kind of thing, to change the tenor of your preparation at all?
It really doesn't. At the end of the day, it's, I always tell the guys we can control what we can control, and that's our preparation and preparation for Ole Miss, which has got a good football team. So we need to lock in and focus on those things and block out anything, whether it's negative or positive. At the end of the day, when you're winning games and everybody wants to pat you on the back, and that's, that can be a distraction as well.
Joe Gorcha.
Coach, along those same lines, do you stress to the players that they can control the narrative of what happens next? There's 4 games left, so how you play can determine the narrative and what people talk about. And do you emphasize it's what you guys control that determines what people say about you moving forward?
Well, Joe, we say that from day one since I've been here, and that's been a message. Every week is a season, and we've got 4 great opportunities, and the next opportunity is in Oxford, Mississippi, and that's what we're focused on.
Colin Taylor.
Yeah, well, 2 questions for you. I guess as the week continues, will you change reps, whittle down reps if you kind of have an idea of who's going to start before Saturday?
I don't think we want to make that decision till at least after Friday's walkthrough.
And I guess you've talked a bunch this year about the quarterback that's going to give you the best chance to win is going to play. I guess, how do you quantify that in practice? What all goes into evaluating that?
Well, decision-making at the line of scrimmage in the run game, decision-making at the line of scrimmage in protections, decision-making at the line of scrimmage of redirecting the protection, changing the play, whatever the game plan presents itself, completion percentage, being accurate with the football. We'll have a 3rd down period tomorrow, which will be critical for both guys. We'll have a 1-minute period tomorrow or Thursday. We haven't decided yet. That'll be critical for them, how they manage all of the things I talked about earlier in scout periods, crossover periods, and good-on-good periods. So every play is graded. I mean, we do that, but that's not just now, Colin. That's been every day since we've been going and trying to create competition. And it's not just the quarterback position. We chart production on defense. We grade, every day has a grade of offensive line wise, running back wise, whatever the case may be. But those are the things at the quarterback position we're looking at, and we'll continue to evaluate that and grade those guys.
Kyle Thomas.
Coach, after the Auburn game, we were 2-2, and since then we've had a 2-game losing streak. What are you doing as a coach, and what is your staff doing to make sure that doesn't turn into a 3-game losing streak?
Well, I mean, we're preparing our football team like we would normally do, and like we did against Vanderbilt, and like we did against Auburn, and obviously the other teams. And we got to play better and coach better on Saturday night.
Mike Yuba.
Well, I'm sure people from the outside, they look at it and it's easy to just look at Colin Hill and just be able to blame him. But when you look at the big picture, of course, it's, the drops, there's some other things going on. Why now? Why look at the decision to make a change now? I try to think back to your first year when you decided to make a change at quarterback when Perry Orth. And so why now in terms of just what you've been seeing and maybe not a little bit earlier in the year?
Well, I think that we'd been pretty productive earlier in the year. I didn't think we had more than 150 yards earlier in the year in a ball game, and I think we lacked a spark on Saturday to get things going. And sometimes the change up is at that position. That position can affect more people than any other position on the offensive side of the ball. With the way we're structured offensively, I agree with you. It's not all in that position. We need to play better around that position. We need to have more people step up at the wideout position outside of Shi Smith. We need to continue to take advantage of the tight end position. We need to run the ball better, and there's a lot of things. But we need a spark on offense. That we averaged 8 yards a play against LSU. We've done some really good things offensively and moving the ball, but we needed a spark, and moving forward, competition hopefully provides that spark.
Chandler Mack.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, kind of touching on what you talked about in the last question. You guys been outscored 100-27 your past two games, and it seemed like you guys had a great flow to your games, even in the Vanderbilt game, and then the Auburn game. You guys had a great flow to the game. And even in the games that you guys lost against Florida and Tennessee, can you just talk me about what are some of the things you feel the team needs to get back to in order to win? Is it just the quarterback play, or is it run the ball more? Can you talk to us about that?
It's in all three phases. You give up 14 points on the road in Baton Rouge when your defense isn't on the field. Your defense doesn't force a punt. It has struggles to stop the run, force them to, we're not very good on 1st and 10, so that creates issues for you on 3rd down defensively. Saturday night we get worn down defensively because we can't stay on the field nor get off the field on defense. So it's a lot of different things that we can improve on, and then we certainly are addressing with our team, and we'll continue to address with our team. But it isn't just quarterback play. We got a lot more issues other than that in the last 2 ball games.
Ben Briner.
Will, this week, have you had any conversations with Coach Tanner about just kind of where things stand in the state of the program?
Coach Tanner and I talk all the time about where we are and what we need to do to be successful, and everything's been very positive.
What kind of message did he have for you this week?
Just been very supportive like he's been for the previous 4 years.
John Whittle.
Yeah, with regard to Paul Jackson, now that you have 6 games under your belt, how do you see your team differently this year under him, whether it's from a physicality standpoint, health standpoint, just what has he brought that you've been able to see tangibly over these 6 games to now?
Well, I think that as much as anything, John, the guys embracing the weight room, the mentality of when our guys lift, our non-travel guys and guys that aren't playing a lot of snaps, maybe a guy's traveling, but he's not necessarily playing a lot of snaps. Those guys are getting 3 good lifts in at least during the week, and then the guys that are playing a lot are getting 2 good lifts in a week. And the embrace that they have going in the weight room from that standpoint, I don't even want to bring it up, but we've had less soft tissue issues, knock on wood, than we've had in the last 2 seasons, obviously. As far as those things are concerned, much that's been cut to a great degree. I think a lot of that's the monitoring of the catapult system, the interaction he and I have as far as where he thinks guys are is where I think guys are. Sometimes as a football coach, you see it different than a strength coach sees it or a trainer sees it. So we've had, very productive conversations, as far as that's concerned, that I think's helped us a lot. So I think Paul does a really good job. I think from a standpoint of, just overall, mentality of your football team and positively affecting guys, does a really good job. And his staff as well.
Dick Cox.
After watching the film, what positive things could you take from Saturday night? And do you think this team, what did they actually learn from their experience Saturday night?
I don't know that we could take much from the film offensively that was positive at all. I do think defensively we were firmer on some blocks. We played better inside than we had played. I thought there were some positives there. And I thought on special teams that we did a good job. Kai Kroger continues to come on for us. I mean, there's positives, Dick. I mean, it's not all negative. But when the score ends up the way it ends up, it's not very good. And that's the bottom line, and it's got to get better.
Mitch Brown.
And I would say, Dick, I'd add to that. I mean, we've kind of moved on. We have a 24-hour rule around here, and we rehashed all of that technically on Sunday, and we've moved on to Ole Miss. So a lot of it's not fresh in my mind moving forward, other than the things that I know that we've got to get better.
Coach, speaking of moving on, in years past, you've talked about certain iterations of your team having the confidence and the resiliency to be able to bounce back from adversity. What gives you confidence that this team can do that?
I think we have good leadership on the team, and we had a good meeting this morning with those guys about where we are, and I think we're in a good spot mentally, based on, 2 very poor performances back-to-back, as good as it could be. As far as where these guys are angry, they're upset, and they want to play better. We need to coach better. So it's a 2-way street, and we plan on doing both.
Pete Huckabelly.
Will, I know you guys got the word from Texas A&M about their COVID tests. Has that had any effect on this team? Have you had to keep some guys out because of quarantine issues or anything like that?
No, Pete, and when I saw that, I guess it was yesterday it came out, I think.
Yeah.
I saw it and I called Clint Haggard immediately, and he said we have no issues. It's very similar to the Vanderbilt game, as far as the however they compute that. You'd probably have to talk to Clint Haggard for exactly how that's done. All I know is no one's been quarantined.
John Del Bianco.
Yeah, well, do you feel you still have the right combination up front on the offensive line? Do you see any changes, or are the best five still out there in your opinion?
Well, Ja'Kai Moore's going to get some more opportunities, to play, and Vershawn Lee continues to come on for us. Jalen Nichols has been continuing to improve. Vinny Murphy. So again, we'll continue to work through, giving some more guys some other opportunities, and we'll settle on some things as the latter part of the week settles in for what we'll do in Oxford.
David Cloninger.
Well, a couple for you. First, will Sterling and Mullins be okay for this week?
I believe so, yeah.
And then you've mentioned the other receivers outside of Shai needing to, kind of step up a few times. What has been the biggest reason why no one really has through 6 games?
I think we've given some guys opportunities, and whether it's drop passes or not run, the route the precise way, whether those things are all issues. So we got to catch the ball. Number one. Number two, when your number's called, let's make sure you're precise in what you're doing route wise, and those sort of things are concerned, because that obviously throws off timing for the quarterback in the play. So I think those things are all encompassing, and those are the two main issues that we've got. Just be more dependable in what we're doing.
Phil Kornblut.
Yeah, hey, Will. You went through a difficult finish during your time at Florida. What do you take from that can help you here at South Carolina as you try to work your way through what you're going through?
Win games.
Chandler Mack.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, just kind of talking about the receivers again. Jalen had a big drop in the game. Jalen Brooks had a big drop in the game Saturday night. What has his mindset been over the past couple of days? Has he been more engaged? And receivers as a whole, have they taken more, turns at the jug machine just to make sure that they're precise and they're catching the way they need to?
Well, they're always on the jugs machine. We've amped that up a little bit, but Jalen's going to be fine. Jalen's a good football player, and he's going to have that same opportunity on Saturday in Oxford, and he'll make the catch. But he's a good player, and he didn't try and drop it, and it happens. And but he's an outstanding young man. Glad he's in our program, and he'll have some opportunities on Saturday night, and he's going to make those plays.
Mike Yuba.
Well, a couple times this season when you guys have been down in the red zone, I know they've had some rub routes. I'm not trying to get you in trouble in terms of how you're going to answer this, but I know there's been some of those rub routes, those pick routes. In your mind, though, because I know you guys are usually in man coverage, what is the benefit of playing man? And I'm sure that changes week to week and even sometimes play to play in the red zone. But what is the benefit, though, of playing man that keeps creating these situations? Unfortunately.
Well, another thing, and I would go back to Dick's question, is we had 3 opportunities in the first half to make stops in the red zone and make them kick field goals in all critical third down situations. When we don't convert, and you look at the Auburn game, a game that you have success in, you made some stops in the red zone to force them to field goals, and that was that was critical in the first half there. But we do play zone down there as well. And we have been rubbed a little bit, and that's part of it. We've got to do a better job coaching our guys of anticipating. Most teams run those routes the same way game after game. They very rarely change things up as far as how they get to it. They may change that up, but how they run it and who runs it normally is not a huge difference. We should have been pressed outside on the first touchdown in the game against Texas A&M, because that's where the rub was always coming from. We didn't. We pressed inside and we played off outside, and that's why we got picked. So those things happen, and if they see it's a penalty, they're going to throw it. If they don't, then they won't. And that's just kind of, we explain to our guys, if they throw a flag for holding, it's holding. If they don't, it's not holding. So that's the way we look at it.
Colin Taylor.
Yeah, well, you kind of touched on Ole Miss's vertical passing game, kind of an explosive offense. You guys have had some struggles defensively in the secondary. Is it just how do you kind of game plan for that? And is it just coaching them better? Kind of how do you address that situation going into this week?
Well, I think as much as anything, the vertical balls, we got to keep guys cut off down the field, whether we're in a quarters concept or whether we're in a middle field man or zone concept or whatever the case may be. Switch up coverages a little bit more to maybe give him a different look. You can affect the quarterback not only by rushing the passer, but changing the look for him for something he may expect and do something different, which we do a lot. We need to do in this ball game as well. So I think that those are all things that we can do to help ourselves and continuing to mix man and zone and pattern match. But continue to mix those things up because defensive football is like war. If you line up over and over again in the same spot, eventually, especially in the passing game, and they know the picture they're going to get, then you're going to probably get hurt. So we got to continue to mix things up and change the picture for him. That sometimes is difficult because of the tempo. Because you want to make sure you get your cleats in the dirt and line up and you cover down and you got your eyes in the right spot. And that's why a lot of the deception things that they create, especially with good skill people, create issues for you.
Dick Cox.
Can you talk about the opportunity of going on the road this Saturday and maybe hopefully getting your team away from any distractions they've got right now and just being coaches and players?
I'd love to be back in Williams-Brice Stadium playing again. That's where we want to play. But on the schedule, we're going to Oxford, so that's where we're headed.
Ben Briner.
Well, with how things have gone of late, and I guess kind of the mood that seems to be settling outside the building, does any part of you get worried about your own job security?
No.
Fair enough.
Any other questions for Coach? See anything? All right. That is
Have
a
a
wrap
great
for today
day.
then.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.